Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? And welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, I kind of want to do what's in my bag for 2021 for landscape photography. I'm going to get into that shortly, so just stay tuned for that. But just while I have your ear, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this setup that I have here. It's kind of a new setup here in the gallery. Decided to put a couple of sofa armchairs, and I think they're quite nice. They don't take a lot of room, and they look nice in front of this wood backdrop here. So I decided to talk a little bit about it. One of the reasons I've added a couple more seating is that I've started doing some Airbnb experience events here in the gallery with live music, photo exhibition with food and wine. So in order to do that, I needed to have a couple of more comfortable seating for the participants. So I kind of decided to add a couple of seating in the gallery just to make it a bit more, user-friendly. And I quite like this new setup, and I quite like it for YouTube as well. Do let me know what you think. But if you notice that I'm sitting here on one chair, and there's actually two chairs, and they're kind of situated next to each other. And this chair is empty at the moment. I'm sure you've noticed that. But the reason why it's empty, because it's just me. But it just kind of gave me an idea, and this just comes from talking to people, is that I'd like to kind of do some interviews here in the gallery with other landscape photographers that are, unfortunately right now, they are local. So I'm putting a call out for any local landscape photographers or wildlife photographers. I'd really like to bend your ear about landscape photography. We can talk just a kind of open forum, nothing really specific, unless people have questions that are specific for that. I can address that. But just if you're interested in kind of joining me here in the gallery, take up the other seat, do kind of an interview one-on-one, talking landscape photography or wildlife photography, which is becoming slowly an interest of mine since I've been doing it a bit more often. But I'm not a wildlife photographer, but I'd like to get into it more. So I'd like to bend your ear, have a few, maybe half an hour to an hour talk, kind of recorded here in the gallery. And even if you're traveling to Montreal and you happen to be here, and you're a landscape photographer from outside, I invite you to the gallery. Just let me know in the comments on this video. Definitely would like to put something together here and just share it on YouTube whenever possible. I think this would be a great kind of interesting, to have here in the gallery. So if you're a local photographer, do let me know. And if you're not, and you happen to be in the city, do let me know. If you're ever around in Montreal, definitely would like to meet and talk photography. So on today's video, I really would like to show you what's in my landscape photography bag for 2021, both photography and non-photography gear. And the other thing I would like to talk about is what kind of gear kind of piqued my interest for 2021 that maybe I would like to try in the future or maybe rent out. So I'll get into that in more detail. So before getting into what's in my bag, I really would like to talk about the bag that I use itself. I've been a fan of Shimoda bags ever since the launch of their first Kickstarter, and now the bag that I use pretty much all the time is the new Shimoda Explore V2, which is a 35-liter size, and I use that to carry all my gear. It fits everything perfectly, and I'm going to show you how I set that up in 2021. So this is the Shimoda Explore V2, 35 liters, and I have it full with all my photography gear, all the stuff that I need when I go on a hike or two for photography. So I'm just going to jump right in and just go over what's inside my bag in terms of photography gear first, and then I move on to non-photography gear that I like to keep in my bag because you never really know what you might need. So the first thing I like about this bag is the accessibility. So I'm gonna just crank open here the zipper that will show you my photography compartment, how it's set up and what I like to carry. I don't know if you can see that right there. This is kind of what I carry on regular basis. This is all I need for when I'm out in the mountains, and I'm going to talk about in detail kind of my gear and what I have. So as you can see right here, I have the large ICU in this camera bag. This is a large DSLR, and it fits perfectly in it, but you can use any combination of ICUs, and you can use a medium and a small, or just two smalls, or the large ICU. For me, the large ICU, it kind of fits everything I need, so I've been just using that, and I can swap it out anytime between this one and the Action X50 if I ever need to carry more gear. this is when I would jump into the Action X50 and use it for more adventure if I'm carrying stuff for a couple more days or a longer day out when you might need more gear. But just for the day hikes, this is more than sufficient. So here I have a actually wireless mic that I use for making videos. I like to use these wireless Rode mics, but this is a Rode mic too, and they're both really, really good. And sometimes I alternate between the two, but it's good to have them. This is the Video Mic Pro, I think, and the Pro Plus, and this is the wireless Rode Go that I use, that I'm actually recording this video right now, and it's the original, not the version 2. And I have here with me a DJI Mavic 2 Pro, which is the drone of choice that I use. But honestly, I carry this, but I so rarely use it because, and you can probably see in my videos that I never share drone footage because it's so hard in Canada to actually get like some good drone footage. It's just been like, feels like almost impossible because everywhere I go is national parks and it's illegal to fly there. And I always find it kind of a hassle to fly a drone and record yourself, and if you're doing one of those driving shots with the drone, you can set it to tracking, but I never want to bother with it. But I should use it more often, but honestly, like, it feels like it's still brand new because I rarely use it and I should make use of it more. But I like to carry it because you never know. I also have 2 extra batteries for the drone right here, including the one that's already on the drone. I keep those fully charged. I have here in the bottom the remote control for the drone, which everything is kind of ready to go. I like to have one filter for my lens for my Canon EOS R, which is recording this video right here. And this is just a variable ND filter. Sometimes it comes in handy for video. And this is the Peter McKinnon one, the VND 2 to 5 stops. And it's 77 millimeter in the size of my 17 to 40 lens, the Canon f4L lens that I use on the EOS R. And most of my videos I use with this lens because I find it's wide enough to include those wide shots. If you want to zoom in a little bit up to 40 millimeter, it's quite good. I also have another lens that I'm using right now shooting this video. Is the Canon 50 millimeter 1.8, which is a really cheap lens, but actually I quite like using that lens because I feel like it's great for video. When you have low light, you can pop it on, and I like the 50 millimeter. Sometimes that angle, I like it. And for my photo camera, which I always have it on the go ready with the 16 to 35 f2.8 G Master Sony lens, that's what I use 80% of the time for landscape photography. I always keep it on because 80% of my shots are either wide shots, including everything, or if I might just zoom in a little bit. And so I keep it on all the time. This is my go-to lens for photography. And if you're into landscape photography, I do recommend just getting a wide angle lens first because I find that's just really, really helpful for photography. And, for landscape photography, I use it most of the time. Like I said, but maybe 80% of the time I use this, but I've been using my telephoto lens a lot lately too, and I find that more useful as well. So I'll get into that as well. And on it, I have the Lee 82 millimeter kind of diameter for filter holder, which I just use my filters. And I have these plastic caps that I just keep it on, so it's easy. So I keep the adapter ring on it, so I can, whenever I want to use my Lee 100 filter system, I just easily clip it on, and it's ready to go at a moment's notice, and that's good to go. And I have the Sony a7R4 right now that I've been using for photography since it came out. I've been getting into the habit of kind of switching. Every time they come up with a new Sony, I just kind of sell the old body and get the new body and keep the same lenses. But for now, I think this one will have to do. Like, even if they come up with a new one, I think I'll stick with my a7R4 for a while. I think it's plenty enough. I do like the 61 megapixel files, but the files are kind of big when you're shooting repetitively. It's like 120 megabyte and uncompressed RAWs. That can be quite hard on the hard drive, but I don't think I need any more than that. I do like the fact that I can print almost 24 by 36 inch prints from basically the output file of the lens without any blowing up of using Photoshop. So I quite like that. So definitely this is my go-to camera, and I've been using this camera for a while. And another thing that I like to carry is a Sony remote, because sometimes I like to use it to shoot with my camera. This is a Sony, just a Sony one. You can use it for triggering the camera remotely. And for my telephoto lens, I have the 100 to 400 G Master, and I kind of have it outfitted in a wildlife setup because I've been using it for landscape too, but I've been getting into a bit of wildlife too, and I quite like photographing wildlife and photographing those kind of things. So definitely, I really like this lens for landscape photography, and I do like it for wildlife as well, because I find it can be pretty versatile for two. I do find that for wildlife at 5.6, when you're fully extended, it might be a bit dark. Sometimes you're shooting in a dark forest, and I'll get into that with more detail and the kind of gear that I'd like to try in the future. I have a memory card holder here, and I have an extra battery for each, one for the Sony and one for the Canon, which I'm using to make the video right here. Usually I would set up the Canon EOS R right here and with the lens already on it, and I have the drone remote right here, and everything else, as you see, I have the Sony camera in here and the 100 to 400 right here, and I actually have like all the accessories, extra batteries, memory cards right here at the bottom. So it fits everything I need. And if ever I'm keeping the 100 to 400 on the Sony body lens, with this setup, when you're using the full length from here to here, it still fits with the camera attached to the 100 to 400 here. So I can always keep it in here ready to go with the side access. It's good to go. Or if I have the camera with the 16 to 35, I can put it right here, or just put the lens. But it's pretty versatile what I have set up here. So on the strap here, I have a couple of things for photography. I like to keep my Rode Wireless Go, the two mics, the receiver and the transmitter right in this pocket here. And I think that's kind of helpful when you want to get it quick, but it's also safe in the pocket. I also have the Peak Design capture clip here, because sometimes I clip the actual Canon EOS R for video on it. When it's ready to go, I just clip it here. Whenever I need it, I take it back out. This is incredibly useful when you're hiking, and I find that useful to add it, keep it on the camera. And I'm gonna move on to the top here, which I actually keep a bunch of things in it. There's no room inside the bag for my filters, so I have the Lee 100 filter holder here, which in this little pouch. So I keep on the top pocket here. And I also have the case from Lee Filter that I use for carrying the gear. This has 10 filters inside with a circle polarizer and various ND filters and grad NDs, neutral density filters for long exposure. I carry it all in here, but it fits on the top perfectly with the Lee 100, and it's also good to put it at the top because you can easily reach it whenever you want to. I like to carry a flashlight with me. This is part of the non-photography gear, but essential for being out there when you come back late or stay out, or go out early. So I have a Black Diamond here headlamp. It's pretty good. And what I like about this one versus the previous one I had is this one has rechargeable batteries, so I don't have to keep buying batteries every time, be wasteful. This one I can recharge it with the USB, and I quite like this one. I got it from my local store here, a Mech store. I have the Shimoda rain cover right here. I always keep it on the top portion as well. And I have soft cloths for kind of wiping the lens or wiping my filters. And I have the Shimoda Explore travel pouch here that I keep some masks inside because we're still in COVID times. And that's kind of it for the top. I have one ring adapter here for the 100 to 400. The reason why I don't have this on the lens like I do with the 16 to 35 is because I just want to, sometimes I've been using this for wildlife recently and I like to use the lens hood. So I definitely want to just not really have that in the way. So I've been using that without it, but I keep it kind of nearby, and whenever I want it, I'll just screw it on the top. It doesn't take that much room. I leave it on the top right now. So that covers the top pouch. Moving on to the front pouch. So moving on to the front pouch here, I do have a Patagonia down jacket that I kind of just stuff in here that I use for colder days. I also keep a waterproof jacket that I keep in here, also a Patagonia one that I sometimes use if it's raining. And I like to use this thing here. It's a Hydra Pack 3 liter. And this one, it's, you know, it comes with the hose, it goes to the strap and through the routing, and this fits 3 liters of water. And I've been using this for a while, never had a problem with it. I like to keep that in there whenever I'm going for a hike. I fill it up just before, and it doesn't take that much room. There's a lot of stuff that can fit in this bag. But honestly, like I can say, like I'm so surprised how much stuff can fit in this bag. Every time I fill it up to the brim with gear, I'm just kind of happy with how much gear goes into it. And on the front pouch here, the half pouch that you can see right there, I have a toque, because in Canada the weather can be unpredictable, and now we're getting into fall. I don't usually use this in the summertime, obviously, but I keep it ready for wintertime, including some pair of gloves. Can't go wrong with that, because obviously, you know, a good pair of gloves is essential. I don't have any fancy photography gloves. These are just mech gloves, but I do like the fact that on the button, on the finger here, you can actually use your phone and you can operate the touchscreen on your camera and the phone without any problem. And I like to keep a pretty sizable first aid kit here. It takes up a lot of room. This is 1 to 4 people. It's a group one, but I like it because, you know, sometimes you're on the trail and you find that you might encounter someone who needs medical assistance if they injured themselves. So it's good to have one that's sufficient for you and other people, because sometimes you might go in a group if you're leading a workshop. So I recommend having one that's 1 to 4 people and can have, you know, this is 1 to 4 people, it says 1 to 4 days. So it's definitely good to have that, you know, in your bag, even though it's not really an essential, but I find it essential. It's not photography, but I find it essential to have, and I feel safer having it, and I never get injured. You know, since I've had it, I used to get injured all the time when I didn't have a first aid kit, and now that I do, it's good. I don't get injured on the trail, so that's definitely good. So, but I recommend having that, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the What's in My Bag video. Now I'm gonna jump into talk about what kind of gear that I'd like to try in 2021, maybe beyond in the future. Definitely a couple of things piqued my interest lately, and it more happened out of the general experience of participating in landscape photography and a little bit of wildlife. That kind of made me curious about these things, but none of them, I'm not gonna definitely do the jump anytime soon. I definitely will stick to my current setup as it is. It's more than plenty, and obviously I'm pretty happy with it. But definitely there's a couple of things that I'd like to talk about. So I've been getting into a bit more wildlife photography, and on some days if it's kind of overcast and you're shooting in a forest scene where it might be a bit dark and the animals in between the trees, it might force you to shoot at a higher ISO. And with the 100 to 400 millimeter Sony AG master lens, I find when you're fully extended 400 millimeter, you're forced to shoot at f5.6. And that pushes you to open up your ISO, and then it introduces noise. In some cases, you push it up so much that even handheld or kind of in the moment when you're shooting really quickly or moving about, even with the use of stabilizer, you don't get the sharpest images sometimes if you're kind of rushing and you're an amateur in wildlife photography like me. And definitely, like with experience, you'll definitely know when to shoot wildlife and just use that to your advantage. I don't find it a difficult lens to use for wildlife. It's actually pretty good for that. But in some situations, I've had pictures where I thought they were sharp, but they weren't sharp 100% due to slow shutter speed or high ISO where I had a lot of noise. So definitely, like, that kind of got me thinking about shooting with a faster lens, and I was looking what's available on the market. And Sony 400 millimeter f2.8 kind of piqued my interest. I was like, man, that's a fast lens and it looks pretty impressive, and the reviews on YouTube say it's well built. So I definitely would like to try that one for wildlife for sure. But you know, I've looked all over YouTube. I never saw in the field video of somebody using that lens specifically for wildlife and showing the results. I've seen pictures using that lens and they look really, really nice, but I would like to see a video of using it. So I thought maybe one time I might rent it out for a weekend, go out searching for wildlife, shooting a video with it, trying to show you guys behind the scenes of what it's like to use that lens. And honestly, like if I had the money, I would buy it, but I can't really justify the purchase at I think it's about 18K with taxes at the moment. I can't justify that unless I'm a hardcore wildlife photographer. Maybe one day I'll justify the purchase of it and I can afford it. But for the moment, it seems like it's a lot of money for glass and you have to worry about carrying it. But it seems like an impressive lens to try at least one time. So do let me know in the comments if you'd like me to kind of rent out that lens one time and try to find wildlife with it and take some pictures with it and see how they turn out. Because I think if you're shooting wildlife, there's a huge difference between f5.6 and f2.8 in terms of bokeh. Me, if the background is really blurry, it's buttery smooth, it will add that just one element extra to your picture. And if you're printing it and you're selling it in a gallery like the one I have, it would give it that extra chance of selling rather than just having a more sharper background and less focus on the subject. I've been kind of getting into a style of wildlife where I like to shoot the portrait of the animal so I can get really close or zoom in close to the face, not show the whole body. And that's another topic, like, do you prefer wildlife picture that focus on this animal as a subject or show them more in the environment? I'm curious about that too, so do let me know if you have any opinions about that in the comments. I definitely do shoot both, but I like those portrait style of wildlife. So I think if you have a 2.8 lens, it'll give it that extra something special, definitely. That's another thing that's one lens that I really like to try. I wouldn't like to try any other lens. For me, like what I have is more than enough. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with my setup, but this is the one lens that I'd like to try. The other thing that I'd like to try in terms of camera for video, I use the Canon EOS R right now, and I do like using it because I do like the Canon cameras, the way the color science is, and I like it for video because of that autofocus is always, it catches on perfectly. So definitely I do like that, but what lacks in the EOS R is a lot of times I'm kind of shooting handheld because, I don't want to carry a gimbal and have the trouble of setting it up and carrying it when carrying other stuff. So definitely having the EOS R is nice, but it's limited because there's no IBIS in it. So definitely the Canon R5 kind of piqued my interest, both for video and photography, but mostly for video. I think I'd like to try the high frame rate for video, just to kind of shoot some slow motion and having IBIS included. So maybe down the line, if I can justify the purchase, I can maybe switch from the EOS R to the EOS R5 and use it for photos and video, kind of doing maybe a video about it. But it's a good way to kind of have a backup camera that can shoot good pictures and can shoot video. I think, if you're kind of a serious photographer, it's good to have a backup camera. Honestly, I don't have a backup camera. I just carry the EOS R, which can shoot pretty good landscape photos, I'm sure. But give me choice between the Sony and the Canon, I'll definitely choose the Sony all the time. Sony a7R4, that's the one I have for shooting pictures because it's a better quality camera. But if you need a backup, the EOS R will fill in anytime and you can still get some pictures. But definitely having a second body wouldn't be such a bad idea because you never know, sometimes something might happen to your gear in the field and you need to have an extra professional body. So definitely the EOS R5 will fill that gap probably beautifully as well. So yeah, definitely what I'd like to try the EOS R5 for video. So that's something that's kind of something in the back of my head, but I haven't made the jump because it's expensive switching camera bodies. So if it's not really a good reason for it, the IBIS alone is not enough to kind of make me do the jump. So I haven't done the jump yet. The other camera that I would like to try for landscape photography that could replace the Sony, but this is just me speculating, I'm not doing the switch anytime soon, is the GFX 100S. I would definitely like to try taking pictures with it. I've never shot medium format ever in my life. I didn't even know this thing existed until Fuji came up with a camera system. And I knew a little bit about Hasselblad having medium format camera, but it seemed like way too bulky for that kind of setup. But with the GFX, with the mirrorless body and having medium format, that kind of piqued my interest. And I was like, man, I'd like to try that one time. So maybe also I can't really justify the price of making the switch because you have to get the camera, you have to get the lenses, and like I said, I'm pretty happy with my setup, so there's no reason to switch at the moment. But like I probably plan with the Sony 400 f2.8, I'll maybe rent it one time for a weekend, go out shooting landscapes with it, and try it out and see what I can get, you know. But do let me know if you're interested in kind of seeing those videos using the 400 2.8 and using a GFX 100S with probably a Fujifilm lens as well, and see what kind of pictures I can get with it. I'm kind of curious. I'm sure the pictures would come out really, really great. I've seen other photographers like Adam Gibbs, and I think Photo Tripper, Gavin Hardcastle recently switched to a GFX 100S, but I'm not sure if he's testing it out or he actually switched all in. But I know other professional photographers are using it, and it does pique my interest to have 100 megapixel camera with the medium format sensor, because also I'm curious about the aspect ratio changes from what I used to on the Sony. So definitely I'm curious about playing with those files. So, but I want to shoot with it too, and not just like, you know, download files off the internet and using those. I want to take the pictures myself in the field and see how it works, you know. So yeah, sorry for the lengthy video. I've been kind of rambling on about gear, but I do love gear. I love talking about gear, and I don't think I'll ever be tired of that. I'm always curious about trying new gear, but you know, if I were to try all the gear in the world, I need to be like have a lot of money around to afford all of it. So definitely thank you guys for coming along on this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you watched all of it. And if you're interested in doing the segment where I produce videos like interview style in the gallery here, make sure you leave me a comment or send me an email to my email. It's actually in the info of the channel, but I'll leave it in the description of the video. Shoot me an email, kind of send me a bit of your background in photography, because I might not know you that well, and it'd be good to get an idea of your style of photography. Maybe share me your socials, I can look at it, and if I'm interested, we can set something up, and yeah, we can probably set something up and do it, you know. I'm just kind of freestyling it, and I think it'd be really, really fun. All right, thank you everyone for coming along, and until next time, peace.